Shabbat Shalom and welcome. I'm guessing, we have a lot of people who have just come in from out of town, and I'm really excited to see Colt, who will be leading us with part of the service tonight. Just a part of the service, kind of warm up, get used to being up here. He's worked very hard. And then tomorrow morning, he'll be leading us at 10:30 a.m. While we are getting started, also I want to thank Mark Sloter, who is in the back of the building every Friday night and Saturday for many years, but especially the last 2.5 years. He and 3 other members of the congregation make sure that all the people who are homebound or have concerns about COVID or are traveling or just want to see our service are able to join. So it's only because of their volunteer hours, they are not staff of the temple, that we know 40, 50, 60 different, I want to say people, but it might be devices. I don't know how many people, robots, are watching our service. So as always, I want to say to anyone watching us at home, Shabbat Shalom also. For anyone watching us from other places, this is Beth-El congregation in Fort Worth, Texas. And for those who are here tonight, it has been our custom, really since the beginning of this situation with COVID, to have our services on Friday night with the Ark open, so those who are watching at home can feel connected to the congregation and to the community. Tonight we'll be turning to our Shabbat service and joining together. I'll, of course, call out the page numbers. A couple things for our visitors. First, everything that's in the prayer book is in Hebrew, English, and transliteration, which just means you can read the English alphabet and join in the Hebrew if you wish, or to lie-dee-die, or to sing along. Certainly when Colt leads us in prayers, we know he's going to want your support, even if you're humming. Because there's nothing more than starting a tune and only hearing your voice, and we want to get him ready for tomorrow. He's worked very, very hard, and we're excited about this weekend as he takes his place as an adult member of this Jewish community. I want to thank all the visitors who are here and any who couldn't get here who are watching at home. Colt, we can wave. Yep. Anybody at home who couldn't be here tonight, who wants to join us tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. for our service, it will also be streamed. So if someone's not able to get here, someone just wants to watch him read from Naso, this week's Torah portion, very famous Torah portion, feel free to join us just by coming to this exact same website at the Beth-El homepage. First thing I'm going to do is say welcome if you are a visitor. My guess is if you are visiting as part of Colt's weekend, your plans are already set for you. But if you are visiting because you just happen to wander in and you just are glad to be in the synagogue, I want to ask Dr. Michael Ross to raise his hand. And if you want to know more about the building or Judaism or this Ark, here is your man who would be happy to see you after services. Of course, I'll be here too, but he does a really good job. For those of you at home, stay cool. And for all of us, no, this is not the sermon. So we're just going to begin. I want to welcome Angie Friedman, not only Colt's tutor, but a treasured member of this congregation, so that we can begin with a Shabbat song.
Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam, cherry berry berry bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat Shabbat, Shabbat Shabbat shalom, Shabbat Shabbat, Shabbat Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, bim bam, bim 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 bam. Bim 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 bam, cherry berry berry bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam.
I I do have to say, I asked Colt, should I speak at the beginning or the middle of the service? And he said, speak at the beginning. So if you ever wonder how rabbis make those decisions, what great ancient wisdom. I wanted to share a few thoughts about you. And the most important thought that I think is on every person's mind if they're from Fort Worth is, summer is here. They're suggesting the weather will hit 105 degrees this weekend. Now, I know that Texans love to say to each other, I don't remember it being this hot this soon in the past. It's that forgetfulness that gets us through, so we're back the next summer. Having said that, I am going to say, I don't remember it getting this hot for this long so soon in past summers. If there's a benefit to this heat, it is that there is nothing like jumping into a swimming pool. I'm not talking about flips and cannonballs and dives or children screaming and splashing, fun as all those things are. I'm talking about if you can think back to any time that you just dropped into the pool and sank in the water and taken a moment to feel the water all around you and surrounding you. And if you haven't done it recently, think back to a time, maybe as a kid, when you just could feel the water over your head, around your feet, below you. Maybe you lifted your feet up, and for just a moment, there was nothing but water. The feeling of being completely detached, but also safe and surrounded and detached at the same time. With the cooling waters embracing you, you can feel the sun breaking through the water and heating it and heating you. And you can hear the noise from the pool, but it's muffled. Even in a crowded place, there is a feeling of suspension, a feeling of peace, something that surrounds you inside and out. It's that feeling in a mikveh, a Jewish ritual bath. And if you're not familiar, the mikveh is the body of water and but I've seen one as a jacuzzi. But there are no bubbles, there are no heaters, there's no special circulation system. The tap water that comes in connects to another pipe, often on the bottom or on the side, that holds stored rainwater, so that the two connect and it becomes a living place of water. We use the mikveh for conversion students, as do other temples, regardless of denomination or sect. We ask Jews at the completion of their period of study to come with us to the mikveh, either across the street or one of the Dallas area synagogues. Alone in the privacy of that room, with no one there but one witness, they immerse themselves fully. And for a brief second, their feet are off the floor, their head is under the water, and they are surrounded, completely immersed. A mikveh does not have to be an indoor facility, and in fact, any lake, river, or ocean can serve as a mikveh. But as there's supposed to be nothing but you and the water, not even a bathing suit between you, you can see why people appreciate a private facility, unless they happen to have access to their own beach. Now, you could be forgiven for thinking that the mikveh sounds a lot like a baptism. But it's important to remember that baptism is about washing away the sins of the prior part of your life. Mikveh is about returning to a source, not giving up or washing away who you've been, but reconnecting through the embrace of the living waters. In a sense, embraced completely by God. I mention mikveh because it has been described to me by conversion students as a sense of returning. The closest that I could think of to describe it was the feeling I used to get when I would sit sort of floating, but in the middle, surrounded by water on that sunny day in the pool. Muffled, but still aware of the energy around my body. I thought of the mikveh today because our Torah portion for this weekend that Colt will read tomorrow is about the special prayer that Aaron will share, the first priest, with his sons. And then they will share that prayer with the Jewish people. And of course, I'm referring to Birkat Kohanim, the priestly blessing, beloved by so many in this congregation. It is one of the few prayer formulas that we have anywhere in the Torah. Now, there are many passages in the Torah, such as Shirat Hayam, or what we call the Micha Mocha prayer, the song of the sea as the Jews are fleeing from the Egyptians. Vishamru, the passage with the commandment to keep Shabbat. These are in the Torah, but they're not presented as prayers. They're pieces of Torah that turn into prayers later and become a part of our daily and weekly liturgy. And yet here in this week's Torah portion, we have an actual set ritual. Aaron blesses his sons after they cleanse themselves. He offers these words of blessing, and then they offer those words to the Jewish people. The blessing is still recited by descendants of the original priests, Kohanim, in congregations that still distinguish Kohanim from other Jews. Those who still keep that lineage bless the other members of the congregation as they reenact this ritual. We offer this blessing to our B'nai Mitzvah students, wedding couples, babies at their Brit Milah, their circumcision or their baby namings, on many other occasions. These words carry a certain sanctity. The reason I thought of a swimming pool when I thought about these words is because of their language. Yivarecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, may God bless you, may God guard you, may God keep you, is somewhat straightforward. But then we come to Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chonecha, which can be translated many different ways. Often we'll say, well, may God's face shine upon you. But of course we know that God doesn't have a face the way we think of a face. May it pass through you, like the feeling from that water. It's not a stretch to think of this as the waters of a womb, the waters of a mikveh, or a pool on a hot sunny day. A presence that holds us and warms us, a silent inner kind of peace, so hard to come by in our noisy world. And that's why my mind drifted back to another part of this Torah portion. Just before we get this prayer that I'll show you in a moment, just before we get to these priestly blessings, we have the rules for the Nazirite, the Nazir, the one who is separate, the one who separates themselves out. This is a person who makes man. Considered, many say, somebody whose life is so full of blessing that they want to give back part of their life. And while that kind of love for God is admirable, it makes the rabbis very nervous. And even well before the rabbis in this Torah portion, it's very hard to keep a Nazirite vow. Somebody who says, my life is so great that I want to be a Nazirite, has to commit to not shaving their head, not cutting their hair, not drinking wine or anything that comes from a grape, and not going near a cemetery has passed away. Now, given the role of grapes and wine, and the mitzvah to be at a funeral Somebody who makes a not to go to a life of the life of others. And the rabbis suggest later that as admired as they are for their religious conviction, they should be discouraged from doing this. Nazarite, and we've got the separated person, and we've got this ritual bath you go into. What is the connection between all this and a swimming pool? The person who makes a vow of this intense nature connects with God by withdrawing. But when we experience the words of the priestly blessing, we're saying it in public. There's no private priestly blessing. We say it with the community. We hope for some private transcendent moment, but we only do it among others. And of course, saying the prayer doesn't necessarily change anything. But we hope that for a moment, we experience some kind of connectedness, some type of peace, some sense of being safe and surrounded. Among the many things that have been said about this Torah portion, perhaps best put, Judaism is meant to be lived in communities. We experience God through good deeds, tzedakah, gemilut chasadim, loving kindness. We experience God through study. We experience God through praying and celebrating together, by grieving and comforting one another's community, by breaking bread. And yet we know that sometimes we have to separate. Sometimes we have to jump in that pool alone and have a boundary between us and others, immersed with the water, muffling over us for a moment, separating us a bit. We feel we have to separate to get that sense of godliness. But maybe what the Torah portion is saying is that the connection is not leaving the community, but in a sense, letting go a little bit of ourselves, separating for a moment from ourselves so that we're open to God and community. Not as many religious groups would suggest going off into a cave somewhere to find ourselves. So maybe the connection between the Nazarite rules, these strict guidelines that make it very, very hard to make an extra vow to God, and the priestly benediction, which requires you to be in a community, to be connected, is that we need to pull back a little bit from ourselves so there is room to bless others. And in making room to bless others, we're connecting through God. And that may be why we offer the priestly benediction to babies at the beginning of their life. It may be why we offer it in front of the ark to bar and bat mitzvah students who have finished their preparation and are about to take their role as Jewish leaders and teachers. It may be why this prayer is offered from parents to their children on Friday nights. In a sense, we contract from part of ourselves and our own ego. We step back a little bit from the busyness of the week, from all the demands and all the distractions of phones and everything else, and we contract, perhaps with the hope that we will now make room to be messengers for God. We learn from this Torah portion that, unlike the Nazarite, anyone can connect and anyone can be a conduit to blessings for others. Our Torah portion is a reminder of the holiness that each of us carries, the ability to touch and bless others' lives, the ability to bring those moments. I want to encourage you to take this upon yourself. It is not as frequently thought just in the realm of rabbis and priests and Kohens. It is in each of our hands as well. If you have not been in the habit of offering God's blessing to a friend or a child or a parent, maybe now is a good time to start. Maybe it is a time to consider making words of blessing part of your regular Shabbat observance. To put your hands on the head or the shoulders, or to hold hands of a child or a parent or a friend. If it makes you uneasy, I'm sure we have a couple of regulars at home right now saying, when did Beth-El become a Baptist revival service? I want to remind you of an important, crucial difference. When you say these words, you are not blessing them. Very important. People say every week, Rabbi, give them God's blessing. I don't want to spoil. I say, no, I am not giving them God's blessing. I am asking God's blessing upon them. And so, when you do this, you are not the original source. You become the conduit, the intermediary, the portal through which prayers of healing and love and peace can grow. You are not God, but you are part of the God chain. After all, the name of the Torah portion is Naso. And the first words of the Torah portion are Naso et Rosh. Lift up the heads of all you see. Lift up the heads of each person. Each person counts. Each person is individual. And each one of us has the power to bring God's blessing to them. And so a little later in the service, not going to do it right now, but a little later in the service, we're going to take a moment and we will offer, all of us, not the Rabbi on high, God's blessing to all who are here tonight. And so now, we take a moment. Think about the week that was. Think about the moments that were incredible. Take a moment to think about an incredible moment and hold it. And at the same time, if it came easily to you, if you know exactly what that great moment was, hold it. Hold it and think about it. And for others here who are saying, I can't think of a great moment from this week, without distracting the people who are in a good place, think of the moment that's getting in the way and let it go. It'll be there tomorrow night. Just let it go. Take the moment that gets in the way of focusing on what is truly sacred and fill it in a balloon and let it float up to the ceiling and go away. Take a moment to think about a great moment, a moment that is sacred, and hold it in your mind as we turn to page 120. And we're going to ask Pia Lederman to come up and light the Shabbat candles for us and to bring someone else in the family. Thank you. And. Here we go. Sometimes the wick is a little more under.
Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'havner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallowed us with the mitzvot, commanded us to kindle the lights of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Page 125. Let's read together. And a reminder, if you're visiting, we have two different versions of our prayer book. If you find more than one set page numbers in your prayer book, then I'm referring to the one in brackets. Page 125. Together. Where has this week vanished? Is it lost forever? Will I recover anything from it? The joy of life, the unexpected victory, the realized hope, the task accomplished. Will I ever be able to banish the memory of pain, the sting of defeat, the heaviness of boredom? On this day, let me keep for a while what must drift away. On this day, let me be free of the burdens that must return. On this day, Shabbat abide. Help me to withdraw for a while from the flight of time. Contain the retreat of the hours and days from the grasp of frantic life. Let me learn to pause, if only for this day. Let me find peace on this day. Let me enter into a quiet world this day. On this day, Shabbat abide. Kabbalat Shabbat gets us ready for the rest of our service. It brings Shabbat into our midst with the words of Shalom Aleichem, page 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu. Baruch Uni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu.
We are ready to begin the middle section of our service. The Chatzi Kaddish is a prayer that tells us we're moving from one sacred prayer space to another. As we turn to 144, Colt will lead us in the Chatzi Kaddish.
Yit Gadav, Yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah, Ve'almadi Rachute, Yimlif Machute, V'chayechon, Uvyomechon, Uvhayed Kol Beit Yisrael, Bagala, Bagala, Uvizman Kariv, V'imru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevorah, Le'elam Umel Me'amaya, Mam Vinase, Vita Vitala, Shemediku Shabrihu, Le'elam Kol Shata Veshirata, Tushbecha Tavene Chemata Damir Mimru. Amen.
We rise on the next page for the Baruch Hu and remain standing through Shema.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Praise Adonai, to whom praise is due forever. Praise be Adonai, to whom praise is due now and forever.
Page 148, we join together. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness, darkness from light, transforming day into night, and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name, ever-living God. May you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Aravim.
Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Hukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadata, Otanu limadata, Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shachbeinu v'kumeinu nasiach b'chukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, uv'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed, ki hem chayenu, ve'orech yameinu, uvahem nege yomam v'layla, nege yomam v'layla, ve'ahavatcha al tasir, mimenu le'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev amo Yisrael, Ohev amo Yisrael.
Page 152.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
Please be seated. We continue together on the next page.
V'ta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher Anochi tzaveh hayom alecha Vishinantam Laneha Vidibarta Bam Bishitaha, Betaha, Ulataha, Fadera, Uvshropeha, Uvkumeha, Uvshartamayod, Vayadeha, Vehayutafot, Beineneha, Utatam, Amzizobeteha, Uvishareha, Mantiskaru, Vasitem, et Komisotai, Vitem Kedoshim, Elohim, Ani, Adonai Elohim, Asher Hotzeti etem, Me'eretz Mitzrayim, Liot Lachem, Elohim, Ani, Adonai Elohim.
Page 157.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we will believe what we were taught before ever we stood in Sinai's foot, that wherever we go is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha neita b'kodesh, nora tehilot osei fele, nora tehilot osei fele.
Malchutecha rahu vanecha, lokei ayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, zeli anu ve'amru, zeli anu ve'amru, Adonai himlo le'olam va'ed,
Adonai himlo le'olam va'ed. Bottom of page 161 together. Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. On the next page, we sing together the joy of Shabbat.
Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, Lasot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. B'nei Yisrael, oti leolam, oti leolam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, Lasot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Kishet yamin asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, Lasot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, Lasot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam.
Page 164, we rise for the Amidah the standing prayer that is really a collection of many prayers all combined into one section. And we ask, O God, pray as if everything depended on God. Act as if everything depended on you. We join together.
Adonai, sefatai tiftach, ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibur v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'konei HaKol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevii Gula Libnei B'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo b'Ahava. Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Abraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibur le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol atah Rav le'Hoshia. Mechalkel Chaim b'Chesed, Mechayeh HaKol b'Rachamim Rabim. Somech Noflim v'Rofei Cholim, U'matir Asurim, U'mekayem emunato l'shenei afar. Nicham b'chabal givurot, U'mido melech, melech memit u'mechayeh, U'masmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'hakayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Feel free standing or seated to continue how you wish on the next few pages, and then we will join together at the end of silent prayer.
be acceptable to you. Adonai, 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 my rock and my Redeemer.
We know that there are those who cannot be here tonight. We know that there are those who sit by the bed of ill family members. We know that there are those suffering from physical ailments and those who are broken, separated from those we love. For all of them, we pray for a physical, spiritual healing. For those for whom physical healing is no longer an option, we pray that God will bring them and their families the strength to face what lies ahead. And so we mention the names of Len Anthony, Robert Bogan, Maria Schoen, Brittany Elaine Drake, Charlotte Fiwas, Christopher Long, Katrina Joy Rogers, Neil Tannenhouse, Sarah Tova, William Westerman, Ann Westerman, Daryl Abrams, Judy Kotler Goldberg, Lori Bregman, Alan Skybell, Leica Frumma Bat Bela Rachel, Ruth Solender, Walt Alley, Rosie Katz, Benny Turner, Will Greenman, Amy Wesson, Stanley Weinberg, Abe Factor, Rita Altman, Charles Norman, and any other names you might wish to add as I look through the synagogue. If you wish to join with us, page 371, Misha Berach, may the one who blessed our ancestors bring blessing to us.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishe Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We move toward the final section of our service, which remembers those who have passed, but also look forward to a time of peace and wholeness and harmony. We face the ark for this prayer. We turn to page 586 and rise for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon l'kol, l'ateit gedula le'otzeh bereshit, shelo asanu ki goyei haratzot, ve'lo samanu ki mishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, ve'gor aleinu kechol
Please be seated. It is our custom here to ask you to sit, even though in a moment we'll ask some of you to rise again, because we ask those who are commemorating, remembering a loss to rise, and then they're joined by the rest in the community. And so here and at home, our prayers go out to all who are suffering a loss. Yesh kochavim, we know that there are stars up above, so far away that we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we have loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. And yet we know the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, this is the way we remember. And so on this Shabbat, we mention names first in the 30-day period of mourning, known as Shloshim. We mention Annette Kanoy, Adele Ahrensberg, Roberta Barr. We add the Yortzites, the anniversaries of their deaths, observed this week, of Ida Marcus Annisman, Miriam Ann Spocker, R.C. Archie Archenhold, Leah Baum, Alexander Bellows, Leon Bankoff, Elias Brackman, Isidore S. Bryn, Gertrude Chikotsky, Jenny Chikotsky, Bess Cohn, R.V. Cooper, Joseph Crystal, Abe Davis, Irvin J. Farb, Louis Fite, Yale Gancherov, Grace Goodman, Saul Haber, Nathan Marks Jacobs, Rosalie Jacobs, Frank Kahn, Mona Keitzer, Jacob Clar, Morris Kotkin, Jenny Cragen, Elizabeth Kuhn, Barbara Kurtz, Sam LaBelle, Gary Lusky, Edith Maximum, William A. Nathan, Edgar Parvey, Esther Robbins, Dorothy Shelby, Francis Silby, Uriah Simon, Jake Tobolowski, Arthur Skip Urbach. If anyone else is visiting that has a yahrzeit this week, you can mention it. So for all of those names and our own in our hearts, we rise, we turn to page 598 as we share together the words of Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbi, bi'alma divrach yirutei v'amlich malchutei, b'chaye echon v'yom echon, b'chaye d'chol Beit Yisrael, b'agalal v'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbi mevarach le'olam u'lomei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitala, shmeid kudsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, damiram b'yama v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemai, v'chaim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Zichronam levracha, may their memories be lights to us as in the stars in the sky. May they light the way for us today and every day. And let us say, Amen. Please be seated. Our closing song is O Say Shalom, which are the final words on page 598. May God bring strength to all of us on this Sabbath. May God watch all of us and give us peace.
O say shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, v'imru, amen. O say shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'yimeru. Amen.
And before we join in the blessing over wine and challah, I'm going to invite your mom to come up and you to come up, a little surprise, okay? Come up on the bima. Now, some of you looking around are not necessarily touchy-feely, so you don't have to do it. But if you're related, I invite you to put your hand or a good friend on the shoulder of somebody next to them, or to hold their hands and to join together. And I know, come on, here we go. And I'm going to leave it up to you if you want to put it on her head, or his heart, or his chest, or whatever his Colt will let you do. If you turn to page 603, you will find, and by the way, if you're at home, you can do this with the person next to you if you're not alone, to really turn next to them, to ask God's blessing upon them. And you can see at the bottom of 603, we'll say it in Hebrew, we'll say it in English, we will be conduits to blessing as we join together. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God bless you and keep you. May God's light shine upon you, and may God be gracious to you. May you feel God's presence within you always, and may you find peace. Amen. And we join together, flipping all the way back to page 123. Really, page 122. It doesn't really matter where it is, you know the blessing. We're going to pick up the Kiddush cup. Here we go, Colt. Ready? You know this. And we're going to join together in the blessing over wine. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. I don't know what's in there, but it's yours. All right? We're going to find out if it's dry or sweet. Dry or sweet? Whoa, not something. Neither. Oh, well. Now I think you'll like the challah more. We can uncover the challah. We'll join together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Thank you for the challah, Linda. Appreciate it. And it'll be your job to decide if anybody else wants challah. You can bring it to them. To that we will say Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for being here.
Shabbat shalom. Very good. Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat.